On behalf of ISACA New Delhi chapter, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We are delighted to have you join us today for the insightful webinar. Today's session is focused on a topic of growing significance in the digital and enterprise landscape, operationalizing AI governance, risk, compliance, and accountability in the enterprise. As organizations continue to adopt and integrate AI technologies, understanding how to govern them responsibly is more crucial than ever. This session will provide valuable perspectives on how enterprises can navigate the evolving landscape of AI with a strong focus on governance, risk management, and compliance. It is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for this session, Mr. Kartikeya Raman. Mr. Raman brings him with a wealth of experience in AI strategy, risk management, and governance frameworks. He is widely recognized for his work in helping organizations embed responsible AI practices and ensure regulatory alignment in rapidly evolving environments. We are privileged to have him share his insights and guide us through this critical discussion. Without further ado, I hand over to Mr. Kartikeya Raman. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. So thanks a lot, Manisha, for the introduction. And I would like to take you through the journey in next 2 hours, 2.5 hours, where 2 hours would be spent in the following fashion. So we'll be talking about what is artificial intelligence. I think most of us already know about AI. We have been working along with AI in various roles and responsibilities that we are currently engaged with. The broader definition that can be assigned or ascertained to AI is that it's coming up as a socio-technical system, and we'll delve upon this particular aspect also as we move forward in our slides. Today's topic is a very interesting topic since AI is being adopted with a lot of I would say kind of an urgency in most of these corporates that we are working with. So we must understand what are the risks which are there around adopting AI and what are the various ways in which we need to manage these risks which are coming up. So the whole session will be divided into small parts where we will be talking about AI revolution, which is basically a journey so far. So I won't spend too much time on AI revolution or journey because I think most of us have a broad idea of how AI evolved and what is the definition and what is the need of AI. I think the more focus we will go into the core concepts of AI and Gen AI. We'll also talk about the responsible AI principles as elicited by the OECD 5 principles and what are the other areas which organizations are looking at. And then we'll start understanding the laws, standards, and frameworks which apply to AI. In this particular session, because of the paucity of time, we will only take one standard and one law. That is the standard which has been chosen is NIST RMF. So we'll have a understanding of what NIST RMF for AI is. So NIST risk management framework for AI. And the other aspect would be around the area of EU AI Act. So we will be talking about NIST AI RMF and EU AI Act. We'll also talk about the different stages, the life cycle of an AI system. So like all the software systems that we see in this world, which undergo the transition of software development life cycle, where it is being, the business requirements are being gathered, they are being then made into a software and which is tested, then sent to production, etc. So similarly, an AI system is also having a very similar to SDLC, its life phases. So we will see that how in point number 6 and 7, that the understanding of how govern the AI development and also understand how AI is being deployed and the use of AI, how it is being monitored. Lastly, we'll touch upon some of these use cases which are there. I think most of us would have heard about it. But those use cases are important to understand that within our organization or within our sector, what are the typical use cases which are there. We'll also understand before we touch upon these use cases as to what are the use cases broadly under which category a use case can be defined. So we'll come to those 6, 7 parameters under which AI use cases can be bucketed, and accordingly we will understand that within our organization, if we need to develop those use cases, how we need to proceed for that. The last aspect would be on AI literacy. I think there is a very important focus, and this is cutting across all the countries which have had some AI regulation or some AI guideline. So whether it is Brazil, whether it is yeah, Singapore, it is our UK, Europe. So all of the organization or the regulations are actually talking about AI literacy. And we also see in India also, when there was this GPI summit and the statement which came out, was also having a special emphasis on the AI literacy. So what is AI literacy? How institutional capacity can be built around that? That would be the last part that we will cover in today's topic. So, without further delay, let's start with our understanding of AI and the journey so far. So, that is a very interesting journey that AI has undergone. And what we'll do is that we'll start off by talking about where narrow AI started. So, there is artificial narrow intelligence, ANI. Then there is something called as AGI, artificial general intelligence, and then something which we can expect that will happen in future would be an ASI, which is artificial super intelligence. So when we talk about artificial narrow intelligence, it is basically talking about a very narrow skill set where we could see that AI has been able to, I would say, not defeat but surpass human brain. So there has been interesting aspect where in 2015 we saw that for a particular chess playing AI, they were able to actually defeat our grandmaster, and from there onwards we actually started seeing that for a very particular task at hand, which is like a very narrow task or very specific area. We were able to see that AI is now going far beyond the human being capability. So that is where we are actually talking about narrow AI and ANI. So all these narrow AIs, and since 2015 we have gone to 2025 today. So we see that a lot of other areas have come up where AI has significantly proven itself that it is able to surpass the human brain in that particular task. So that is where the narrow AI regime is headed right now. Moreover, we also know that, and it all started with a journey where we were even talking about whether AI can fool human being in conversation. So if you have heard about the Turing test, so Alan Turing, so in the Turing test, the statement or the hypothesis was that whether when you are talking to a AI or a machine, is the response you are able to fool the human being in saying that this is not a machine that is talking to you. So if you are able to do that, if a particular AI is able to do that or machine is able to do that, that is where they pass the Turing test. And from that era, when Alan Turing came out with this hypothesis, till today we have seen that there are multiple areas where AI has surpassed human capability, and that is where we are actually talking about a broader artificial intelligence, or ANI, now moving towards a broad intelligence. Also, when these AIs start talking to each other, so if you see that there are multiple AIs which are talking to each other and together they create a general intelligence, and that is where we are headed when we talk about 2035 being an era when AGI would be prevalent, and AI with the ability to reason, plan, solve problem, think abstractly, comprehend complex ideas, learning quickly, and learn from experience, etc., would be delivered. So that is where AGI would come into existence. And if we talk about further another 20 years down the line in 2055, we are talking about ASI, which is the artificial super intelligence, where we are actually now talking about an ASI having an intellect. It is much smarter than the best human brains in practically every field which is there, and scientifically it is more creative. And then there is a general wisdom and social skills which are there already developed in this ASI. And this is the area where we are actually talking about, um, uh, we are headed to, that is ASI, where 2055 we can really feel that ASI will be coming into existence, which will have more power, more brain power than all the human beings combined within this world. That is what has been explained in the literature that is available around ASI. So the journey is there. It is a long journey that we have to undertake. So we are still in 2025, where broader intelligence is available. We have not reached AGI yet. And when I talk about broad intelligence, we can talk about a example of an autonomous car, a self-driving car, where if you see that it is able to reason, plan its movement, there are sensors which are solving problems which are coming in front of it. When there is a, let's say, a suddenly animal comes in front, the car stops. The car is able to maneuver itself from place A to place B, and think also for itself when it is actually trying to go from place A to place B, which is the best possible way in which it can make a move. So those are the areas which are being developed. And in autonomous car, we have seen, and that's why if you see this particular robot, you see the robot is talking about an area where we are very nearing 2035, but we have not reached yet to AGI. So that is where we are headed. And I am sure that as we move towards the goal of creating a general intelligence, where a lot of these ANIs, that is the narrow intelligence, they are able to go towards talk to each other. And because they are able to talk to each other, they are able to focus upon solving these real time problems for us. So said that, I think the next slide is very interesting, because this next slide is actually talking about the AGI, why it has become so difficult. Because as we see that there are two aspects to general intelligence. One is around the raw power, that is the raw CPS, that is computational power which is available. So CPS is computational power, computations per second. So if we see that the raw power which is available right now, it is still not commercially available. So scientifically, that raw power exists. We can see that the raw power exists in maybe a lab, which is available. For example, I've given an example of China, Tianhe 2. This particular supercomputer in China has that kind of raw power. But that raw power to become commercially available, it will take some time. So we know that it might take at least 10 years more for that kind of 10 quadrillion CPS, that is the kind of raw power that the brain could manage, that is our human brain can manage. So that kind of power is available only when we have this kind of hardware with us. So this hardware is actually limiting, or if you say we are in 2025, Kartikeya, how 2035 would look like, and what is the path that has to be traversed. It is around this only, that it has to AGI caliber hardware needs to be commercially available, and that is where we are right now. So apart from that, I feel we can talk about. Is everybody able to see my screen? Is there any issue? Are you able to see my screen? If yes, you can write in the chat. Okay, yes, perfect. So going forward, since we have around about 10 quadruple CPS. That is the what is the power that brain could manage. The second key ingredient towards creating artificial general intelligence is the smartness. So we have power, that is, we can compute so many computations per second can be handled. But what about the smartness? So when we are actually talking about smartness, it is like training a machine or training a machine model or machine learning model. And in order to train it, the kind of training that we have to give is around the neural network. So there is a very important aspect over here where we can uh, reverse engineer a human brain and try to simulate it using computers. But said that, why it is being said it is around about 6 years away, that is what is written in one of the book I was reading, The Singularity is Near, is because the emulation, the technical term that is used for this, in the emulation, what we have achieved till now is that we have been able to create the brain or emulate the brain of a long flat worm. So there is a 1 millimeter long flat worm brain, which actually consists of 302 total neurons. And this particular 203, so sorry, 302 total neurons is what we have been able to successfully emulate in order to train or in creating that smartness in the machine. What we are here to achieve is for the human brain to emulate, which is 100 billion neurons, is what we need to do. So said that, if you see this particular graph, so one insect brain is where we need this kind of CPS. So calculations per seconds. Okay, and this is where we are around, right? So if it is 2025, somewhere here is what right now we are. And but then on top of it, if you see this, so there is an exponential growth that you see, that we will going to witness, because it is only solving this one brain is important, because after that, as there, if you have seen in most of the machines, it's very easy to copy. So then to create more human brain power, it will not take too much time. So it is to crack this code or this neural network is where scientists are right now focused on. And that's why if you say, okay, why is AGI so difficult? The reason is that because of the hardware side, that we need 10 years for AGI caliber hardware. But with quantum computing, this might not even be 10 years. It might be another 5 to 6 years, because the way quantum computing is leaps and bounds, we are very soon going to see a lot of focus on quantum computing and how quantum computing will change the game completely. So post that, again, there will be enough computing power which is available, and we will be on our journey of emulation. So from one insect to a mouse brain to one human brain, and then to maybe all the human brains which are there in this world. And that is where we will actually see a ASI developing in 2055. And this is where we think that an artificial super intelligence will be there. Now, the question arises whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. A lot of people, and this is the top brains that we have. So most of us are thinking that this is a good thing, because it will be balancing between our immortality, that is, maybe all the diseases in a human body can then be found and cured before they actually even happen to us. So we might near immortality. All the problems with respect to a lack of food, poverty, etc., world pollution, etc., all of them may be solved with the help of an ASI, artificial super intelligence. And that is where our immortality is being discussed. But then it comes to the other extreme end, where extinction is also a very important consequence which is being discussed. And if you read it, it is ASI could allow us to either conquer our mortality, But if that's the answer, why so many of the world's smartest people so worried right now? So Musk, Gates, Bostrom, all are terrified with the concept of ASI developing. The answer is there in these three particular columns, if you see. So the first one is that as soon as ASI gets there, you need to protect it. It should not land in like maybe with a terrorist organization or with the perpetrators, because ASI, again, all this artificial intelligence or ASI, all of them are tools in the right hand, tools in the wrong hand. And that's where they are scared that when ASI arrives, who or what will be in the control of this new power which has been created. And if it is a malicious ASI which is created, it can decide to destroy all of us. So all of that is being discussed when terrorists actually grab this superpower that is ASI. What about, and it is very similar to how nuclear power was disguised once upon a time, but now we are actually talking about an imminent threat arising in another 10 to 20 years with ASI being developed. ASI also has a very important thing that you understand is an instrumental goal. So any artificial super intelligence, as we have seen in a lot of these sci-fi movies also, they are programmed and they are obsessed in fulfilling a goal. So they don't have maybe that kind of a morality or a human touch where they will even think that this is the right way, the mean is right to achieve the objective, whereas that might danger human beings. And it might turn out to an extent where AI is posing that danger to human beings, and we try to stop it. And in the instrumental goal of self-preservation, the AI ends up in eliminating the threat that is all of us. So that is also a very significant issue at hand as we are nearing this ASI goal. Another important thing is that sometimes we have a very friendly AI, or we think that this particular AI is doing a very insignificant task. But with that in mind, we have seen in a lot of these scenarios when they are being put under uh, machine learning algorithms, and there are more data is being supplied to them, and when all of this timeline is protracted in future, most of the AIs are trying to easily able to outsmart humans. They are by default be becoming unfriendly unless they are carefully coded. And one of the major issue is that the human values or a deep understanding of our human values is missing in these AI which we are developing. So it is harder than it sounds that we just need to train them with human values. But with that, we know the kind of biases that come in and how to protect an AI or a machine from such biases, and especially when it becomes a Gen AI, that is, it itself is generating the code, etc. So that is where we are. And said that, we can move on to the next slide, which is basically talking about that when there is so much of risk, and we have just discussed how the journey from ANI to AGI to ASI is happening. What are the core principles of responsible AI that we need to think through? And that is where fairness, bias detection, accountability, explainability, transparency, privacy, validity and reliability, safety and security, all of this are being discussed, and we'll talk about that in later also. Said that, how does AI work? I think AI works by using data, algorithms, and models. We'll touch upon each one of them. They make predictions, they make decisions in our daily life, especially when it comes to algorithms. We are also talking about three types of machine learning. So the first one is called supervised machine learning. And this is specifically important for people who are in the industry and they are going to adopt AI in their organization. So they need to know. So they don't need to be data scientists. They don't need to be experts in AI, because when you are a user of AI, you still need to know certain attributes of how machine learning works. And these are the very simple concepts and core concepts that I would be giving you. so that you can deal with this situation, especially when you are developing your own AI governance in your organization. So very important critical aspect of this is machine learning. And in machine learning, the three types of machine learning is supervised, unsupervised, and reinforced. So in supervised, you have, it is generally being used for labeled data, grouped, classified into categories via AI. So if you have, for example, in rows and columns, you have a lot of data, you have your databases which have neatly labeled data. So all of that is where you can put a machine learning algorithm which is supervised. So you can have supervised machine learning for this kind of data. And an example is that AI, which is trained on cat images, can identify dogs. So because of supervised learning and labeling of the data, it is able to identify cats and dogs. So this is how supervised learning is being developed. But then in most of our organizations, we already know that very less amount of data is labeled. Most of the data that is available with us is unlabeled. Specifically, it is even unstructured to most of the extent. And with this unlabeled data, what can we do? And that is where, when the data is completely unlabeled, or there is some labeling only, or less amount of labeling, in such cases, we can detect patterns. And in order to do that, it is basically done using unsupervised machine learning, where typically patterns are being detected. For example, if there is a huge amount of data around bank transactions, and with that data, if we put unsupervised learning, it will be able to find certain patterns which are appearing again and again in the data set. And when these data sets are further explained, or they are knitted together, and they are explained, that is where the insights for frauds, etc., can be uh, taken out. So this is being massively used right now, unsupervised learning, specifically because there's a lot of data that is being generated which is unlabeled. But then there is also another way of making machine learning done, and it is through reinforced learning. And this, in reinforced learning, it is the AI systems is rewarded for performing a particular task and penalized for not performing. So this is a very significant way in which, especially your self-driving cars are being trained. So as soon as they take the right turn, they are being rewarded. There is a reward mechanism. For example, you have likes and dislikes. Similarly, there are certain buttons of rewards and penalties. And the machine learning is done in such a way where this feedback is again taken back, and it reinforces the learning. So if it is taking the right path or the shortest path, the algorithm is rewarded. If it is not taking certain things into perspective, maybe it is not taking a small animal which came in front, then there is penalized. And this is how the training is happening, or machine learning is happening right now. Said that, types of AI. So as I mentioned earlier, there are various types of AI. Two significant types of AI that we know is, one is around narrow AI, and I gave you examples. That is basically operating within a predefined boundary. It is not accessing any other system other than the boundary that has been defined. It cannot perform tasks which are outside its programming, and that is where we design a very specific narrow AI to complete a task. Now, one of the key things to note here is that in most of the organizations, or many organizations, they take one narrow AI and try to expose that narrow AI to a data which it has not been trained upon. And that is when the results, or there is a model drift, or there is incorrect results that come out. So we need to be very sure, as we are in the organizations, that we should need to know that what is this narrow AI's objective, what are the boundaries in which we have to use the narrow AI, what kind of data was used during its training, during its testing and validation, and we need to stick to those kind of use cases. In case we are choosing to change the use case, we need to then do a risk assessment, and we'll come to that. That conformity assessment or a risk assessment needs to be done on that narrow AI, that whether this particular narrow AI can be used in some other circumstance also. So that is a very important aspect that we need to take care of when we are dealing with narrow AI. The other type of AI is general AI. I think it is still theoretical, as I told you, and it is still under research. We have not reached there yet. But however, a lot of narrow AIs are talking to each other and they are creating broader AIs. For example, we have Alexa and other such AIs which have started communicating with other AI systems within our homes. So you have a home system where home automation system which is talking to your fridge, which separately has an AI which is managing the fridge. There is a separate AI maybe in your washing machine, in your other IoT devices. Maybe there's an AI separately in your car. Now that car is talking to the home before you park your car in the driveway. The AC is on, the coffee is already made, everything. That is where you see that there is a broad intelligence that is being created, because there are many narrow AIs which have started to interact with each other. And this is where we are right now. But whether we have achieved or we are going near, for general AI, it is still a theoretical concept and it is still under research. Now, one important thing that comes to our mind is that why there has been such a boom in the AI, and because these artificial intelligence, or which were earlier even known as decision support systems, DSS, etc. So they were already in existence. There was business intelligence, BI, and all of this was being used in some form in the companies. And we remember in our 2000, 2010 sci-fi movies, there were these labs where already there were AIs where you could talk to the AI, and conversational AIs were represented in those movies, etc. And there were labs, Cisco labs, etc., where we knew that such AIs exist. Uh, the reason of the democratization of AI is because of the drivers that are listed here. The six key drivers that have really significantly changed the game is the cloud computing. So no longer you need to really heavily invest in the hardware. You need not to have huge building with data center in order to test your AI or do model training, etc. Now you can easily do the same with cloud computing. The cloud will give you enough of the hardware capabilities, and it can be scaled up and down. So that has been one of the key drivers of AI and data science right now. Another important driver has been the mobile technology, the edge devices. So because of the usage of smartphones, we have really come very near to the AI. The kind of conversational AIs that we saw in movies earlier, now if you open up Perplexity or maybe Siri or Alexa, immediately you will have the similar kind of experience that is there when you are talking to an AI, and AI starts doing natural language processing and talks back to you. It also, context is also preserved. So if you are talking to an AI about weather, the next 5 6 sentences that you utter and the responses that you get is actually contextualized towards weather itself, unless until you change the context. So this kind of democratization has happened because there are smartphones available and we are able to experience AI on these devices every day. And that's where mobile technology has played a huge significant part in developing the or transforming the AI landscape. The Internet of Things with the sensors and the kind of I would say cost effective production that has happened around CCTV, surveillance cameras, etc., and the kind of internet which has been enabled in these devices, we are able to have this huge web of Internet of Things, which has started also delivering a lot of these AI solutions in the market. And that is also one of the key modern drivers of AI and data science. Another key aspect is the privacy enhancing technologies, because when we are talking about AI, we must not forget about the data protection part or the privacy part, because there's a lot of data which is residing, the personal data which is residing on the internet, which is publicly available. So if you ask Perplexity or Gork or any other AI tool about yourself, whatever is available in the internet, it will try to crawl, try to search that, and then come up with a answer, and you will be dumbstruck that how much of information is available on you, about you on the internet. The key reason of the further advancement in this is the privacy enhancing technology, which is able to obfuscate, or there are a lot of techniques which are like data vaults, etc., which are being developed, and that has significantly boosted in the very regulatory regimes of GDPR, etc., where AI is also being developed. So if you see that one of the strongest data protection law, that is GDPR, which has been there since 2018 in Europe, still we have the one of the most innovative and a robust AI law, which also came from Europe, that is the EU AI Act. So if both can coexist, that means that because of privacy enhancing technologies, there is a huge boost to AI, and which has also led to a lot of innovation. Another important aspect in while creating AI is the kind of blockchain infrastructure which has now been available. Because of the blockchain, the ledgers that are there, AI is being significantly used in healthcare and such sectors where a lot of blockchain technology is already underway. BFSI sector has also really used blockchain to create entries, and also using it create an very safe platform for AI development in those sectors. Computer vision, the AR, VR, has been the prime driver of the phygital world. If you see the world where robots are being used, or machines which are in the warehouse, dark warehouses are being used, it is only because of the computer vision, the sensors, and the kind of image processing, that the capabilities which is available, that you are able to use AR, VR technologies, which is again helping a lot of AI dev. So if we see, and if we understand closely, it is because of these factors that AI has suddenly being used everywhere. Another few areas that we see in the diagram, if you see closely, is where we are having generative AI. So AI overall encompasses machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI. So if you see the transformer models that are being used right now in the industry, where the neural network architecture has revolutionized the natural language processing, the NLP. And one of the reasons why uh, that is there is because of the generative AI, the GPT is preserving context, I just told you. So this is the kind of conversations that has led to very sophisticated NLP products. Plus, generative AI refers to the deep learning models. It is targeted in a very specific area, and that learning helps the AI to not only generate text, images, videos, and other outputs. So, for example, if you see AI being used to GBify images, so we are giving image to the AI, and that image is then being processed and GBified into a cartoonish image. That style is being preserved, the context is being preserved. Similarly, when we talk, we are able to have voice to text, text to voice, image to text, and there can be a lot of prompts, and then with the help of some AI tools, you can, from text to image, you can create. So all of these are multimodal models which are there. For example, Claude is there. So that is an advanced form of learning which is being inspired by human brain and the artificial neural networks that are already there. So it is helping us nearing our thought of emulating a human brain, and the hierarchy patterns also. So these neural networks that are being created are not known to the developer even. So if we say that the black box, this particular AI is Gen AI, and will we have that kind of transparency? The answer is that transparency is not there, because the model has, when it was written, the new code that has been written by the Gen AI, it's very different from what the model was. So Gen AI can create new neural networks, new ways in which it can process information, and that is where we see that these natural language processing or multimodal models that are being used, so they can not only understand, recognize the input that is coming in form of text, speech, visual, audios, but also combines all these computational, linguistic, and then break down the human text speech into smaller parts and start behaving accordingly. So this is the kind of era that we are learning it, and where we are headed in very few years, or maybe within this year, you will see, and we have already started seeing agentic AI. So which is basically refers to an artificial intelligence that is focused on autonomous AI agents which are capable of making decisions, taking actions. So till now, it was only about conversationals or outputs that were being provided to us for us to use further in our work. But now with when we are talking to this area of agentic AI, we see that now the AI on our behalf is taking actions on our behalf. It is learning without constant human intervention. So this agentic AI world will be a very different world from how we have been interfacing with the AI till now. So because it is combining everything, combining AI, combining large language models, it is combining machine learning and automation, and that is where the intelligent systems that are being prepared here under the name of agentic AI, they can perform specific complex tasks, they can solve multiple problems and decreasing the human intervention there. Now agentic AI rely upon patterns and likelihoods to make decisions and actions, so they are very highly adaptable. They can follow reinforced learning method, they can understand whether they are doing it correctly. With your feedback, you can further train them as an agentic AI to do a specific task. Said that AI improved through experience, as in more and more they start having interface with us. Maybe when we start off with them, you will feel they are very dumb. And this is very true with some of the agentic AI experiences that I recently had. That I didn't feel that kind of, I would say, experience where I would see that there is a lot of intelligence on the other side. But as and slowly, gradually, when you are having more interaction with them, they understand your habits, they understand how you deal with certain aspects of work, and they start emulating it very seamlessly. And that is where I think with experience they will improve. So that's all about agentic AI. Said that from agentic AI and this whole world of AI, we have studied about narrow AI, we have studied about broad AI, we have studied about artificial general intelligence to artificial super intelligence, and now we have even talked about agentic AI. We now need to focus upon companies using AI. So when companies are using AI, we need to have some responsible AI principles in mind. Why principles are really important? Because whichever law you take, whichever jurisdiction you have, even if there is no AI law in India, for example, right now, you still need to follow certain principles. If these principles are there, whatever laws that will come up in the near term, they will also be following these principles. And one of the key area or key, I would say, a key body which gives these principles is has been the OECD, Economic Cooperation and Development. So because of which this OECD 5 principles are there in every single AI law or guideline that you see. And these 5 principles are inclusive growth. So it talks about inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being. That is how AI needs to be made responsible. It also talks about human rights. So AI should not harm any human rights, any democratic values. It should include fairness and privacy. And then the third important principle is on transparency. In under transparency, it is talking about that whatever decisions that the AI is making, that decision needs to be carefully studied, that whether it is transparent, whether it is able to tell what is the input and how this output was received. And in certain AIs like Gen AIs, what were the criteria under which these inputs and outputs were processed. So those are the areas in transparency that we need to fulfill. Other than that, about what there is explainability. So whether we are able to explain the input to output journey within the AI. So if it is like decision tree or rainforest kind of models, which are very transparent, you can easily find out as to how the output was reached. But then there are other AI models, like we were talking about generative AI models or neural networks, etc., which are highly complicated and which also change over time with the model. So that is where explainability is very less, or there is almost no explainability. And what are the risks which are associated with such AI and what we need to do, that we will be discussing later. Post that, we also talk about security and safety, as we understand that robustness, security, and safety is a very critical aspect when we are developing AI or employing or deploying AI within our organization. And that is where we should take care whether this AI that we are deploying, there are security which is built in, and what are the various safety features. So we'll talk about that in the model card, that discussion in some slides later. Accountability is a very key aspect, because a lot of this AI, that is the output that is being generated out of AI, who is accountable for that? The decisions that AI is taking, who is accountable for those decisions? So we should have a very clear cut accountability, a certain, whether it is the business head, the HOD, or the AI operator who is there. So these are the key areas which need to be highlighted, and the names should be put in that, okay, so and so would be responsible for the AI decisions that are being taken by this AI system. So these are the 5 main principles which are there. Post that, we then talk about building an ethical AI, a responsible AI. And these are why these conversations are important, is because a lot of times when we are deploying AI or we are actually using AI like Copilot or other such AIs, we need to have some kind of an AI governance within our organization. So we should have an AI policy, we should have various other AI related documentation, and we should also understand the various principles that are involved with AI. And that is where building an ethical AI is very critical. And factors which influence an ethical AI is whether the legal and compliance is there. So if there are relevant policy procedures that needs to be in place, whether you and ensured legal review of the AI, there has this happened. Or do you have this kind of documentation within your organization? Equitable design. So when we are training an AI, when we are testing an AI, or we are developing an AI, the kind of team that is doing it, it is very critical. So earlier people were not really bothered about it, and then they significantly saw that in the output. So in one of the case studies which was recently published, there was an AI which was used by the police department in US, and that particular police department, that AI was convicting a high level of people who they were actually being recognized as perpetrators based were blacks, and very few results that came out were of whites, and that too white males. So the reason which was in the end identified for this kind of biasness was because the development team of that particular AI of facial recognition and AI system was completely white male. And that was one of the reasons why equitable design is very stressed upon when we are building an ethical AI. So diversity is a must. There should be a gender representation, there should be an ethnic representation, because all of that will help us include it within our AI systems development. Said that, transparency and interpretability is a very key. We just discussed is one of the key, one of the five OECD principles that is there. So transparency and interpretability is very important. AI labeling of products is extremely important. If you are using an AI within your organization, you must put a disclaimer telling the person who is receiving the AI output that this output was generated using an AI. It is extremely important. For example, in chatbots, that you must have seen in chatbots, there is a message which flashes saying that you are now dealing or you are interacting with an AI chatbot. So these kind of labeling is very important. Notice to the customer, decisions being made by AI being explainable. So these notices are also very important. For privacy, also notice is very key, because notices tell the participants that okay, how their privacy is being protected, what kind of personal data is being shared or captured, how it will be used. Said that consent must be taken, because when you are using personal data for an AI, if the person is not aware, in the end it actually leads to non-compliance and maybe regulatory fines. So it is very critical to understand, to give privacy notices, and then consent must be taken, and the work towards the data minimization, that how much data is required for that particular AI development. Last but not the least, we all know about data governance, garbage in, garbage out, the quality, the integrity of the data on which the AI model is being developed or trained is extremely important. So if you have huge amount of data, but you have not prepared the data in your life cycle, and you have just thrown in that data into an AI model, the end result will not be satisfactory. And this has been one of the key reasons why you have seen that many of these GPT models, etc., they keep on advancing themselves. The data that is being used for training is very, it is being refined. It is being, there are more sets of data that is being now increased. There is more inclusion which is there, and then the model is being retrained on that set of data, and that kind of AI model is then put in as the next version of GPT. So data governance is a key, and these five factors which are there are very important for building any ethical AI, or even when you are actually taking an AI off the shelf, you need to understand whether these five factors have been taken into consideration while this AI model was developed. Now, very similar to how a software lifecycle or software development is done, you must have known and seen that in SDLC there are various stages, and these stages are at various stages, various things are happening. So similarly for AI also, there are the AI SDLC, where AI lifecycle stages are there. So what are these AI lifecycle stages? So the first important stage in an AI lifecycle is use case assessment. The most important thing and the most amount of time that should be spent in any organization should be around use case assessments, because this use case assessment at the end of the day will of the AI. And if your use case has been properly defined and has been tested by the business, there is more value that the business will gain at the end of the complete life cycle. So there have been a lot of times companies which don't spend too much time in the use case assessment, or in the interest of time, they are actually giving use cases which are very generic. They have not done their due diligence, and that is where when you come up, for example, a company's department wants to use a chatbot. Now that use case assessment if you just have put one single liner saying that we will need a chatbot, that will not help. The use case assessment has to do a complete deep dive as to what is that the chatbot will accomplish, how that chatbot will be used, who are the customers, etc. We'll come to that in detail also. But use case assessment is the first step of the AI life cycle, which is a very critical step, and all of us should spend a lot of time over here. The next important aspect is the risk management. And why I say about risk management is because this risk management step will help us understand what are the laws, what are the regulatory requirements which need to be fulfilled for any AI system that we are going to develop. It also tells us about the AI system. If there is any sectoral requirement, for example, it's an insurance sector or a BFSI sector, what kind of obligations that the AI developer will have. For example, in EU AI Act, as one of the operators, the developer has a lot of requirements, especially with high risk AI systems being designed. So this kind of risk management is very important. It also understands or gives you an understanding who is the AI committee internal to the organization, where what are the guidelines internally which have been published within your organization which need to be adhered to. And that is where risk management comes in. Also, whether this AI system that you are developing, whether it is a prohibitive system or a high risk system or a low risk system, all of that is very critical, and all of that is done upfront in the risk management. Then comes the ethics by design. So this is very important because the five factors that we had discussed, now those have to be developed within your design. So when you are designing an AI, it has to be ethical. And in your model training, etc., how those ethics will be embedded, that is what has to be discussed and adhered to. The fourth important step of the life cycle is on the data acquisition and use. So where is this data going to come from? Is it sales data? Is it HR data? Is it transaction data? Has this data being properly scrubbed? Has this data been already prepared, cleaned? And is it labeled data? Is it structured, unstructured, streaming, static data? So, and the acquisition of that data, is it coming from finance department or is it coming from other department? How that department has been involved in the AI life cycle. So what will the use of that data? So you need to understand whether this purpose, for example, if it is personal data, have you even given consent or notice for the personal data to be used in your AI system? And that is where all of these questions are being answered when data acquisition and use as a stage is being completed. Post that, an important aspect is model development. So we will study about which kind of model do you want to take, whether what kind of machine learning it is, supervised, unsupervised, reinforced. Is the model that you are taking, does it have to have only structured data? In case of structured data, the model will be much simpler. It might be regression model or something very simple like that. But if it is unstructured data, maybe it is social media post, it is images, videos, audio files, etc., then it might be neural network, which or NLP or other such Gen AI kind of model, that or deep learning model that you might have to employ, and that is where the model development happens. Also, what kind of data will be used for model development? So there will be a data that is being used, and that data will then be used for training and testing. So you will have one data which is there for training, and then you should have a separate data set for testing also, because you want to understand what are the limits of my AI model, where it is actually able to fit properly, if it is overfitting or it is underfitting, how that particular what are the guardrails that are there with respect to the data. For example, after this particular point or threshold, the model will start hallucinating. So all of, or it will have a bias, or this is the purpose for which AI model has been designed. You cannot put it for or expose it to some other data set. So all of this is a part of our training and testing. In the testing also, we will later on see what kind of other testing, ARIA, ARIA testing methodology that can be used, where even to an extent red teaming is done. There is a red teaming experts which are actually testing the model with giving them scenarios which are beyond the control or beyond the threshold of that particular AI, and that is the way of testing that can be done to see whether the AI is robust, resilient enough to come back to its original form. So training and testing is a very important and a significant stage of your AI life cycle. The last stage of the AI lifecycle is on the model, the deployment, and the monitoring. So, not like the way softwares are developed. So, once software is developed, it is released in this world. And then, after 6 months or after an year, you will see some patches being released. And there's no active monitoring of that software that needs to be done. This is the most important or a significant difference uh, between the AI and the software, because in AI, when deployment has happened, you have to have a constant monitoring done of the AI, because there is so many other things, because the AI is being exposed to data which it was not exposed to while during the training or testing of that AI, and it can create model drift and other such areas that we will see later in the slide, that because of which it can actually give incorrect results, and that is where the monitoring comes into a lot of significance. Because for example, in one of the recent examples in Gork, we saw that expletives were the first time maybe the model was exposed to expletives in Hindi, and the Gork model was able to then use those expletives back in the responses, and because of which the model was taken down for some time, and then again there were certain criteria where they were put in that particular model. So you never know how the AI will behave when the new data is being exposed to, and that is the constant monitoring, that it does not leave the actual objective for which the AI has been developed. So that constant monitoring, though incident response plans are very different for AI systems. So this is the key difference between an AI system and an SDLC, or sorry, any other software. So if you see, very similar to what I have already told you, under SDLC also you have requirement analysis, design, coding, testing, deployment, and then there are certain AI risks which are already available or which are highlighted there. So you have biases which are to the requirement, leading to biased AI models. If your requirement is such, if in your requirement itself there's a bias, then it will only amplify that bias. Then if you are analyzing something, the misinterpretation of the requirements will lead to incorrect AI solution. In design, if there is a flaw, that will again, there will be a lot of system vulnerabilities. For example, security review was not done, or maybe the remediation gaps are still there. Then you have error in the coding, that is while you are actually making that model. That also indicates that there might be there needs to be code reviews and approval processes. Testing, again, inadequate testing leads to undetected AI errors. You have to have a robust and fault tolerant AI system. In development or deployment, if there are errors, there are system downtimes. Again, you have to have stakeholders which are signing off in these cases. And in operations, you have to have a regular patching. Another interesting thing about AI is that if, for example, there is certain data on which AI was not trained, you cannot just add that data. You will have to pull down the AI model completely, retrain the AI model on the new set of data that you need, and then again deploy it. So it is itself is a complete effort when you have to change an AI system, or maybe make it train on a new data set. So that is very important, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about feature engineering in AI later on. Said that, now moving on to the next topic is about AI governance, because during our conversations, we did discuss that in your organization, if you are actually thinking about adopting AI, maybe that AI can be for the employees, or that AI system can be something which will help you take your product and services to the customers, or it can be an internal or maybe an external AI. In both cases, the most important thing that the organization should immediately think about is AI governance for that particular organization. And in order to understand AI governance for that organization, there are some key factors that need to be evaluated when you are tailoring the AI governance. So if you want to tailor your AI governance and risk management for your organization, the five most important things that you need to put in place, or evaluate, is these five things. So it starts with company size. So you need to understand that how big is your company, plus how much of your company is actually taking using AI. So number, scope, variety of AI systems may vary from small companies to large companies. We have seen companies which are only using a chatbot, and then there are companies which are using AI systems in all facets of their departments. Even they are using it for their external partners. So that is very important. That will help us understand what kind of AI governance that you need to put in place, and the risk management, plus the maturity that is there of your organization. So if your organization correlates that it's a very mature organization, then you will already have a very strong risk management framework. Now, AI risk management framework can be an add-on to your existing risk management framework in such cases. But then if there is no sufficient infra for the risk management or managing AI risk, in such cases, the maturity is very low, and then you should adopt maybe a standard risk management framework like NIST immediately into your organization. So that is a way in which you can proceed with respect to your maturity. Then there are also companies which are of in different sectors. So sectors like BFSI, sectors like healthcare, sectors where other sensitive personal data, or maybe a government sector. So which are sectors which are highly regulated. So in order to use AI in such highly regulated sectors, there are guidelines which the sectoral guidelines also would have been given. So you need to navigate a little bit more in these sectors and industries when you are implementing AI. Said that in your products and services, so you are tied to industry requirements. AI is being incorporated in your products and services. You need to understand whether it's a B2B or a B2C kind of product or service, because under your B2C there will be more AI risk with respect to personal data, with respect to privacy, etc. Under your B2B, there are other kinds of biases that can be impacting your business when you are actually using an AI system. So those are very important to understand, and you need to tailor your AI governance and risk management plan accordingly. Another important area is your risk tolerance and your business objective. So if your business objective and the choices that you make around risk, so AI systems can reduce or increase those risks. So if your AI system is used in certain fashion, it can amplify any bias that is there, any risk that is there. So because it is a very fast system, so we will see the speed in which AI system performs. So in case there is a, for example, a small mistake, that will get multiplied and exponentially multiplied. And that is where one small mistake could become a huge blunder when it comes to AI. And that is the kind of tolerance. If you don't have that kind of tolerance, then you'll have to have certain risk mitigation steps before you launch that kind of an AI system. And the AI system can also reduce certain risks like human errors. So AI systems can check for human errors before anything can be committed. So those kind of AI systems are reducing the human errors, and also helping us manage risks. Said that, now we come to the other part when we start involving or understanding how we want to develop an AI system. The first thing that you need to understand, if you are a practitioner or you are someone who has been tasked with developing or incorporating AI in your organization, is that you need to understand the various data formats that exist. So there are 5 ways in which data formats in which we can categorize various data which is there in our organization. The first one is called the structured data. As told to you, structured data is basically fixed fields, spreadsheets, rows and columns, easier to support business intelligence, very similar to transaction data. So this kind of structured data is generally used for, especially for supervised machine learning. This is the perfect data. Now, if we understand that there is unstructured data which is available, for example, it lacks structure, a better for predictive, qualitative analysis. A lot of Gen AI use this because it is basically social media posts, it is pictures, audio, visual data which is there, videos, audio files. So all of this unstructured data is there. But then there is also a semi-structured aspect of data which is available with us, where you see that there's a lot of labeling and tags that are there. So there are markers which are provided to information. For example, you have emails. So there is some context to that data which is there in the email. There is an XML file or a free form TXT. So all of this is semi-structured data. So all types of data is available there. Then we should also understand whether we have static or streaming data. Example of static data is generally historical data. For example, your sales data from last year, it cannot change. So it is static data. Even your customers which are visiting a website, it is static data if it is for a past period. But then there is streaming data also, that kind of data which is coming in every minute, every second into our organization. So this is basically data which is in flux, which is changing. For example, when customer visits in real time to your website, so right now it is like 125, next minute it is 130, 137. So that is the streaming data that is changing every minute. So these are the various data which is available. So the first step in your journey is to understand what are the data format and comparisons, and see, okay, we have this much of structured data, this much of unstructured data. Why it is important is because now you will know what kind of machine learning technique that you will be using on this data. Another important thing is that whatever data now you have found in the organization, which will be used for your AI system, it has to go under these 5 V's. So why I've written 5 V's of data preparation. And also data preparation is also called data wrangling, because you are basically taking data and then trying to process it in certain way. So the 5 V's, all of them start with V. So 5 V's is variety. So different formats and data from various sources is what we just read about. The value, the extract of useful data out of it. So not all of the data can be ingested, will not be required for that particular machine learning model. And that is where we will have to see, okay, these are the columns that we may need to drop. Then the velocity, so high speed accumulation of data. So we need to understand the velocity of data. We have to also see the veracity. So when we talk about veracity, it is the inconsistency and the uncertainty in data. That there is data for, let's say, 30 days, but under the 30 days, 7th day data is not there, or 13th day data is not there. So there can be various forms of veracity is there, inconsistency, but we'll have to overcome that. So our way of managing it is maybe using dummy data, etc., so that there we can fill. Then the volume is a very important factor. So there is a huge amount of data that has to be fed into a model in order to train that model. So when the first thing that we did was that we were trying to understand in the AI life cycle stages that we will need to acquire data. Under the acquisition of data, two important things that we have just now studied is that the first one is the formats in which this data will be available, and second is the 5 V's of data preparation, that before this data actually gets ingested into an AI system, we need to make sure that we have performed these 5 V's on the data to prepare it. Another important aspect of data preparation, post data preparation, is that if you see over here, once our data has been prepared, the raw data, we have to clean and transform. So this we have done. But then there is an important aspect of features. And this is a very key aspect in AI systems, that as you must have seen that in software development also, we have always emphasized on modules, where certain modules can be dropped or initiated into a particular software program. Similarly, in your AI modeling, we have to create certain features. Now, these features are very critical, because a feature which is there, let's say, available in European Union may not be available in India. So if you create certain features, like there is a feature which is available in India, but that particular feature should not be there in European Union. So in such cases, what you can do is, and that is only when you have done feature engineering in your machine learning, that you can enable or disable features. So you can say, okay, it is enabled for India, but it is not enabled in European Union. And these kind of feature engineering helps us in faster modeling, and then creates us the right insights. So it's a very important aspect of machine learning and how modeling or AI systems are being developed. Now, after we have developed these features and we have done with AI models, the most important thing comes after development of an AI system is the deployment of this AI system. So there are three key areas where deployment happens. So the deployment environment is very important, because most of the time we will have to choose which will be the deployment environment. So if we choose a particular deployment environment, we need to understand what are the pros and cons. So if we are choosing, for example, cloud-based deployment, that is this. So we need to understand that, okay, because of cloud-based, it will have easy scaling up and down, and reduces the investment in the hardware that we have to put in. So cloud will be a very good way of using or deploying an AI system. Now, although the most important part under deployment on cloud is that if it is near real time or real time AI system, such AI systems, there are a lot of latency if they are deployed on cloud. Plus, there are certain security threats that we have seen which are associated with the cloud infrastructure, as well as third parties handling data. In these cases, cloud-based AI deployments are then discouraged. So, in which way, in those cases, on-prem is something that we can look at. So, in on-prem, it gives us greater control, specifically when we are handling sensitive personal data. So, if there is sensitive data in any of your AI system, it is always required that you should go for an on-prem deployment of that particular AI system. But the only problem with on-prem is that it requires upfront investment in hardware, and we have seen that is to be very important, and like a lot of GPUs are used. So such kind of deployment can happen maybe at a state level or a national level or at a very large company level, cannot happen with smaller companies using AI systems. Another important way is to deploy AI on the edge devices. So edge devices like your smartphones, tablets. So, but it decreases latency because the AI system does not have to go up and down to the cloud, and gives a much more better efficient AI system. Also, there is a lot of data privacy, because the data of that particular device does not leave the device at all, and the AI is using the algorithm where it is preserving the privacy for that particular device. So, but however, with these devices, we know the kind of computing power that is there in our smartphones. So that becomes like a inhibited, it limits the computational power in these devices. So that is where we have to take care of and knows the pro and con of how to deploy an AI system. So we have talked about the user or the business requirement or the objective, the use case assessment for an AI. We have now also discussed the development of an AI, what kind of responsible AI principles that we need to follow during our journey of development. And we have also seen some part of how deployment happens for an AI. Another important aspect around this is that some of the AI that is being used, or large language models that are being used, it is used in a proprietary large language model. So there are a lot of these large language models which are proprietary. Some of them are open source like OpenAI, and some of them are proprietary. Now, if you develop your own AI model, it is then being used for your own company, and it is only having access to the data which you are providing. And then it is also very different from the large language models which are available. So the context is very different. There is a lot of unlabeled data which is there, and because of which you may not get the right output that you need. And when you come to something which is a proprietary large language model which you have developed, you need to fine tune it, and that is where you find that it is basically only referring to the data that you have provided it for. So an important aspect of your AI system management, or a comprehensive AI system management, we need to make sure that we are able to govern and monitor and maintain an AI system. So when we started off our journey, we started off by understanding what are the use cases which are there. Then we went to the understanding of how AI is being developed, how AI is being deployed. And now, when we are talking about the last stage where AI is being governed or monitored, and some of the key areas that we need to keep into our mind is that when we are governing or monitoring a particular AI system, that there has to be an incident response plan for every AI system. We need to post all the inventory for the AI system which is there. We have to also have measure the risk scores which are there. So there can be some AI systems which are categorized as high risk AI systems. Some of them are very simple chatbots, so they do not pose significant risk, so they have lower risk scores. These risk scores are very important for us to understand how we need to monitor these AI systems going forward. We also need to also see whether we are able to avoid certain key risks like model inversion, extraction, or poisoning of the AI model, evasion. All of that can be detected. So we need to monitor the model, that whether all of these issues that can happen to an AI system can be detected and reported. An important thing that all of us all need to do is also the documentation. So when we are maintaining a particular AI system, the most important is the documentation, because that will help us understand what was the kind of training data, what was the testing data, how this AI, what are the thresholds, what is the right output of this AI system. And all of this can be documented on something called as a model card. So every AI has a model card, and this model card gives you all the information about that particular AI system. There's a lot of standard documents which are available, especially the testing data, etc. If it is an open AI, you will have all that data, standard documentation available. This documentation is also very important, because tomorrow, if you need to diagnose a certain problem, or you might even have to see that if there is a considerable deterioration in the AI model, in such cases, you need some baselines. So all of the standard documentation provides you that baseline where you can actually see what is the performance of the AI model. This is also very important for your monitoring AI system. Now we come to the last part, that is the audit of these AI systems. So we need to periodically assess the performance, reliability, safety using audits. And as I told you, red teaming, threat modeling, security testing, all of these are very important aspects of making sure that the AI system is properly performing. So some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you are designing a comprehensive AI system management is that you have to have bias mitigation. You should have anomaly detection, performance evaluation, drift detection, resource optimization, regulatory compliance, and improving your user experience. So all of these aspects, if you take into consideration, you will see that the comprehensive AI system has been developed. Said that, this completes the journey of a AI life cycle. And with this, a very important thing that comes in to question is that what happens if there is a significant deterioration in any AI system? So if your AI system has significantly deteriorated, in such cases, we need to understand that, okay, in such cases, the AI system, it has either deteriorated or it has given responses which we don't need, and we need to pull the plug. So, in such cases, as a regulatory requirement in some of these regulations, especially EU AI Act, it is very clearly mentioned that basis the performance issues, you need a human to shut it down and give it is as a kill switch. So you need to design that kill switch. You need to design it and then give it to a human being. And this is a very important aspect which is also checked during audits, that in your AI systems, what is the kill switch, how it can be deactivated as an AI system, and who is the human being who is responsible. Generally, it is the chief AI officer, that or the person, or there's a committee, a steering committee, which can take that decision on a particular AI if there is some deterioration in the performance of this AI. Now, said that, last aspect, I think I touched it in one of the slides previous, that is AI auditing and AI accountability. So AI auditing and accountability is a key aspect, and whatever AI system you have now designed in your organization, or you are using even customized off the shelf, like your Microsoft Copilot, or there are other such AIs that are in Amazon, Rufus is being used, so many other AIs, Azure, there is a huge library of AI systems that can be used. So these AI systems, if you need to audit your AI system, you need to understand what are the accountability mechanisms which are there, human review measures that can be taken, automated checks for AI governance, which are associated ethical issues. So some of the tools that have been developed and significantly being used is AI Verify. It's a Singapore-based free of cost tool, which is based on 11 ethical principles. AI Verify, if you give your AI system, it verifies whether it is following these 11 ethical principles. Similarly, for OECD has developed a model card regulatory check app. And this a particular application, it automates the AI documentation based on OECD. So these are certain mechanisms, certain tools that you can use in the area of AI auditing and accountability. So it's a very important part of the journey. Once your AI system is already in live, and users are using it, over a period of time, you need to do certain AI audits, and these are the accountability mechanisms that you need to put in place. Now we will talk about two very important things which I discussed when I started off my presentation, is that we will touch base upon two things. One is a framework, that is the NIST AI risk management framework, and the other one is the EU AI Act, which is a law. So the first we'll do the framework and then we'll do the law. And why I'm actually taking these two into consideration is because both of them have significant importance. And because they are having significant importance, it is also very critical for AI professionals like you or in your organization. If somebody asks, okay, we are developing or we are deploying a lot of AI systems, you need to raise your hand and understand what is the risk management framework that we have developed, or which is the law that can give us the best practices, or we need to adhere to. For example, if we are a European company, then we have to undertake this journey of compliance to EU AI Act. So under the NIST AI RMF, if you have not heard about NIST, it's an organization, US government organization, which publishes a lot of these NIST related frameworks, not only on AI, but on cybersecurity, data privacy protection. A lot of best practices and frameworks are coming out of NIST. And this NIST AI RMF is free of cost, and it is having 5 things in it. So if you go to the NIST website, you will understand that there are 5 main areas or 5 things that you can download free of cost from NIST website. On first is the AI RMF core, which is basically the AI risk management framework core, which is giving you the measurable, flexible, and voluntary objectives to manage and implement a responsible AI system. So the most important critical aspect of NIST AI framework is to create a responsible AI system, and the voluntary objectives that you need to manage or implement is coming out of the AI RMF core, an Excel sheet which has long list of things that you need to implement or manage. The next important document is the AI RMF playbook, which is basically suggested actions and achieving some outcomes which are linked to your risk management framework, and that is where your playbook comes in handy. It is also linked to the some of the use cases and profiles. So there are a list of use cases which are available on the profiles, and it is the implementations of the AI RMF functions, categories, subcategories, and specific settings which are there for the applications. So these 3 are the key areas that, or the key document that you need to take into consideration while you are reading the NIST AI RMF. Then there is also a roadmap. It is basically for your organization, what are the activities for advancing your AI RMF? And the crosswalks is basically the harmonization of the AI risk management with other such management practices across jurisdictions. So these are the critical areas or critical documents that come free of cost, available online. And as you have time, maybe it's a long weekend, so you can download some of them, and if you are interested, you can go through them. Let me know if you have any questions. I am available on LinkedIn, or as secretary of the SACA chapter, you can write into me. I'm very happy and very glad to take you through those documents and how to implement in your organizations. Now, what is this risk management framework that we are talking about? So let's have a quick understanding of this risk management framework. So this risk management framework, as all RMFs are, the first thing that it asks you is to map, it is to measure and manage. So in order to do all these 3 things, the most important core thing that you need to do is govern. So it talks about these 4 things. It starts with govern. It tells about 6 things or 6 subcategories under govern, that or 6 principles that you need to follow. So you need to establish, implement policy procedures, practices of AI risk management, accountability structures. It talks about workforce diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, prioritizing AI risk management. So all of these things are which are very important for your governance aspect. It is also talking about organizational teams are committed to the culture that is being developed, communicating AI risk, robust engagement and AI actors, AI risk management of third-party softwares, and your supply chain issues. So all of this is a part of your governance or your governance, which is the core govern area. Then comes the mapping. So if you map your context, AI systems are categorized, compare these AI system capabilities with usage, goal, expected benefits. Then you are also mapping the risk, and the benefits are mapped to the components of AI system. In the end, you are also talking about the impact to the individuals. These are AI risk assessments, where you are actually seeing what is the impact of, very similar to how you do in privacy, DPIA, PIA. So these kind of privacy impact assessments or a data protection impact assessments feed into these particular AI assessments also. So if somebody asks you that I need to do a conformity assessment, CA, in these conformity assessments, we will see it is mostly or a part of your PIA and DPIA also roll into the conformity assessment. Another very important reason why there's a very strong linkage of privacy professionals and AI professionals because of this area, which is basically impact to individuals and groups and communities and societies that are being categorized and mapped. Then we are actually measuring the AI. And when we want to measure an AI, we are identifying, applying the methods, metrics, evaluation, the trustworthy characteristics of that AI, how much of hallucination, how much of biasness is there, what are the various tests that have been done on that particular AI. We identify the mechanisms and identify if there is a risk which is developed over time because of new data that is being exposed to these AI systems. We also gather and assess feedback about the efficacy of the measurement. So we understand whether these measurements are correct and how will they help us in long term. Said that, we also talk about managing. So we prioritize certain AI risks. For example, if it is prohibitive or it's a high risk, we are having a very high frequency of managing, or we are trying to manage it more than the AI systems which are not very, I would say, not very significant risk, and which are of no risk at all. For example, your chat GPT, etc. We also manage AI risk and benefit from the third parties. And then we are also creating risk treatment. So what is the response, recovery, and communication plan if somehow there is an issue with an AI system, and how we will report that incident to the authorities. So all of that is a part of your manage. So this is how, under the NIST AI risk management framework, the part of govern, manage, map, and measure is actually being defined. So this is the complete picture of NIST AI risk management framework. I think you can all take some time, download the documents which are around this. It will help engage, help make your understanding more deeper in this area, and also give you certain insights on how AI systems, which are now rampantly being adopted by your company, how those AI systems need to be managed going forward. It is also very important to understand that under the risk management system, when we are doing evaluation or impact assessment of AI, and with this ARIA evaluation environment, what you see is that under the testing layer, whatever AI system is there, there are not only test scenarios which are being developed and the AI model is tested, there is also red teaming that is being done on these models. And there is a significant focus on the field testing. So it is not that AI models are completely thrown open to the public. There are pilots that are done with these AI systems. Those pilots give us the feedback of how the AI system is behaving when it is being exposed to the new data, and what was the performance of the AI system. With these interactions, there is an annotation layer where assessors are actually giving some test packet requirements, annotation guidelines, which is actually giving us the measurement layer. So which is the contextual robustness index, which is called COREX. So COREX is being identified. So with these kind of techniques, like in ARIA evaluation environments, there is 3 level of testing that is happening before, and everything you see is a modular environment, which basically enables us to have the assessment in a way the user interactions are happening. What is the impact based on these user interactions for the submitted applications? So this is the kind of testing that is being done on the AI models before they get deployed. Now we have completed the risk management framework. So we just discussed the NIST risk management framework on AI. And this actually completes one of the significant risk management frameworks. So there are many risk management frameworks. There are a lot of frameworks which are available. Woodry is there. There are about 70 risk management frameworks or AI frameworks which are available. So if you go into the websites, into the search engines you search, you'll find that there is a complete list of frameworks which are available, and they are very sectoral also. So it depends which sector, which industry, which area is the company organization in, and accordingly you can take one or even more than one framework for your particular AI system when you are developing and deploying that AI system in your organization. So said that, now because in the paucity of time, we will now also touch upon one of the laws which govern AI, and it is also very significant because EU AI Act came out in 2024, and because of which there has been a significant impact on how AI is being introduced in European Union and how it is helping in ensuring the various principles that we have studied, for example, the five OECD principles that we had studied earlier, that how it is being actually put in the law and how that law is helping various operators. And why I call operators is because that is the word that has been coined under EU AI Act, where there are developers, deployers, users. So all of them are being called operators. So, and there can be also some companies which are actually importing AI systems and then distributing those AI systems to smaller distributors where further the licenses are being provided to the users. So there is a complete chain, and every chain, every actor is being identified. Why they are being identified under the EU AI Act is because there is a different obligation, different responsibility of each and every actor in this chain. So if you are a developer, you have a different obligation. If you are a deployer, you have a different obligation. If you are just a user of that AI system, you have a very different obligation. That is how the EU AI Act has been structured. So I will quickly take you through the EU AI Act. I will tell you about the various actors which are there in EU AI Act, and this will help us in actually acknowledging the or seeing the obligations that are there. Now, what is the significance of a law, or why it is important to have a law around AI system is because then we see there is a major compliance to the to creating AI systems, and it is very important because AI systems can be categorized into different types of AI systems under the EU AI Act. There are AI systems which are prohibited. So when we say prohibited AI systems, these kind of AI systems should not be used in the EU or in your organizations if you are based in EU. And these are, we will take some examples also. So these are the various categories or risk levels under which EU AI Act has divided AI systems into. So the first one is prohibited, the second one is high risk AI system, low risk and no risk AI systems. So there are various articles in the EU AI Act which are actually talking about the various obligations of the developer or the deployer or the user of these AI systems. So that is how the crux of the EU AI Act. So now we will take certain risk categories and we'll talk about certain examples and the requirements which are there. So if we take the risk category of prohibited, we will see the EU AI Act is talking about the use case examples. So there is a, for example, there is a AI system which is doing social scoring, or basically telling your social score, like very similar to your CIBIL score. There can be a social score that how you are as a person. So maybe you are negligent, you are a drunkard, you are using illegal drugs. If you are buying certain things, there is a social score, and how they come to know is maybe using your transaction details, your credit card, or maybe your facial recognition software in your constant CCTV surveillance. It is not a sci-fi thing that I'm talking about. It is actually available in some of the areas in China where social scoring is being done of the citizens, and these social scoring, which are AI enabled, is a use case of a prohibited system which is prohibited under the EU AI Act. Even the broad scraping of facial images from the internet is also an AI system which is prohibited. There are certain AI systems which are having emotional recognition. So if you are happy, if you are sad, if you are angry, All of these emotions are being captured by an AI system, especially in the areas of employment, etc. These kind of emotional recognition systems are prohibited. There's also certain AI systems which can do exploitation of vulnerable people, vulnerable population, maybe minorities, etc. So these kind of AI systems are also prohibited. There are AI systems which are using sensitive biometric data like your finger scan, your iris scans, etc. So there are also AI systems which are prohibited under the EU AI Act. So when it says prohibited, this particular clause or this particular category has been implemented, that there cannot be prohibited AI systems introduced in the EU market. Now there are also AI systems which are high risk AI systems, so which are not that they cannot be used. They can be used, but then there has to be certain mitigation while we are using these AI systems. So something like a profiling requirement, recruitment. So there is an AI system which is helping you profile the new recruits, or employee performance monitoring, or access to your medical records for diagnosis, biometrics, PHI or PII data, which is being used. So these kind of systems are the systems which are examples of high risk. The requirements under the EUAI Act, especially with respect to high risk systems, is that it has to be registered with the EU. So there is a office in EU which registers all these AI systems which are going to be introduced in the EU market. So you need to provide the data of your AI system for registration with EU. You also need to make sure that there is an impact and a conformity assessment, CA, which is very important. A conformity assessment is something very similar to how DPIA and PIA are essential for privacy. Conformity assessment is a process of demonstrating whether the product, process, or system meets specific requirements often found in the regulations, standards, and technical specifications. So this conformity assessment and the impact has to be done before it gets introduced. Bias mitigation, compliance, transparency, comprehensive human oversight, risk management and risk mitigation, and continuous monitoring is very important for any high risk AI system. So for high risk AI systems, it's not prohibited, it can be used, but then if you use such AI systems, these are the obligation and requirements of those AI systems that you need to manage. And you need to also report it to the authorities. When we talk about limited AI systems, now limited can be your chatbots, which are internal or external facing. You have recommendation systems. So if you have seen your Amazon and other such e-commerce sites, you must have seen that we purchase certain things, and based on which there are more recommendations that come up. Even your YouTube or any such social media sites, or Tube, where you have recommendations coming for the reels, etc., that this is the next video that you need to watch. All these recommendation systems are limited risk management systems, and you have to also have systems which are generating deep fakes, etc. So it is saying that you can use such things, but then there has to be complete transparency to the user. The user must know that deep fake has been generated by an AI. There has to be some marking of the content that this has been artificially generated. So all of these requirements need to be fulfilled. Not only these two, but also some of the obligations which are there for the deployers and users also. So there are certain systems which are minimal or general purpose. Like for example, you have email spam. So you tell the for your spamming, you can say this is junk mail, etc. So next time onwards, then all of that mails would be landing in your spam folder. You have inventory management system or video games. All of them have AI enabled systems, but then they are having minimal impact on us. Or your large models like ChatGPT, etc., which are also having very significantly low or maybe very less amount of impact on us. And but the only thing is that you need to be transparent with the technical requirements. You need to be having a policy on copyright. For example, your chat GPT, etc., and other similar models, you need to have to preserve the copyright law or IP law. Then you need to also publish the summary of the training content and marking that the content has been artificially generated. So these are simple requirements around the EU AI Act. I think we all understand now how risk categories have been put in and examples of AI risk, like in prohibited, we just saw social scoring, behavior manipulation, emotion recognition at workplace or schools, biometric categorization, deducing sensitive characteristics out of it, like your iris scan can tell the ethnicity of an individual. High risk systems we already covered, like AI systems covered by sectoral products, and biometric identification, access to essential services. So all of these are the examples of AI systems, and they have been categorized under various. The categorization is very important because as I talked to you about operators under the EU AI Act, which can be the provider, deployer, importer, distributor, or even the product manufacturer. Sometimes the product manufacturer is also the provider. And at the end of the day, there is another category called authorized representative. This is very similar to how in GDPR you have authorized representatives, where basically you don't have a presence in European Union, but then you engage a law firm to represent yourself in front of the authorities. Those are called the authorized representatives. But product manufacturers and providers have lot of requirements and obligation under the EU AI Act. Said that there is also important requirements and obligations under the deployers also. Importers and distributors are a part of your chain, your supply chain, but they still have a very significant role to play because they are bringing a new AI system in the EU market. Whether that EU system meets or that AI system meets EU AI Act or not is something that is a responsibility of importer and distributor also. Said that, there are certain slides. These are also available on the net, which is basically thanks to IAPP publications. They have created this kind of a summary where which article is actually referred to, providers, deployers, authorized representatives. This helps us understand which are these articles of the EU AI Act and how it is being important for various actors in our EUA Act. So an operator for an EUA Act, for example, responsibility along the AI value chain. This is something which everybody has other than the authorized representative. So nobody can shrug from the responsibility. And what is the importance of this is because when you are adding value, to an AI, you are going through that value chain, and as you add value, whether the objective or the impact of that AI changes. Also, there are obligations of the deployers of the high-risk AI system, common specifications. From an AI high-risk AI system, we move to other AI systems or maybe low AI risk systems, where certain articles like registration of that particular AI system is important. EU database for high-risk AI systems need to be updated. Who will do that as per Annexure 3? So these are the various things that need to be, or the obligations that need to be met under the EU AI Act. And another important thing about EU AI Act is that it has not come into force the complete EU AI Act together. So it has been a phased approach. So every 6 months, that is after every half year, there's a part of EU AI Act which comes into action. So the EU AI Act on December 8, 2023, it came into existence. There was a provisional political agreement that came into existence. Post that, the act officially was published and it was entered into force. But 6 months later, the bans on prohibitive AI system will apply. And then another 6 months, that is 12 months later, the general purpose AI systems and other models provision will take place. And in the end, in H1 of 2026, that is next year, the full enforcement of the act will take place. So it's a phased method in which you can see that the EU AI Act has come into place. As a summary of this whole EU AI Act and risk management framework is to create a responsible AI environment, and we can create responsible AI. But the key challenges is to balance innovation and ethics. There are a lot of times when the businesses are asking you to innovate further, but because of ethics, you are constrained, and you sometimes view that okay, responsible AI and the get go of the innovation both are loggerheads with each other, and we need to take a side. So there are also sometimes lack of diverse perspectives, which is basically negatively impacting the demographic profile is different of the particular team, and the disciplines which are the domain experts are not being required or not have not been included in the team. So all of that is very important. Plus, there is a rapid pace of AI advancement. We understand, for example, from GPT to Gork, Perplexity, where there's more conversational AI, to now even going for an agentic AI. There's a rapid pace in which AI advancement is happening, and we need to catch up. So we need to make sure that our responsible AI frameworks and regulations are kept up to date. We also measure responsible AI performance, and that is a very tough because quality performance, if you really go down, it is very difficult to even highlight a particular bias in an audit, and how these number of issues will get identified and resolved. At the end of the day, it is a mainly people's game because there are very less few people available in this AI responsible AI space, and because there are very less amount of practitioners, it is very difficult to find these practitioners for smaller budgets, smaller businesses which have limited budget. So we need to start small, but we need to scale up. And implementing responsible AI is not a convenience, it is a commitment. We need everyone to actually make sure that if we are adopting AI, we are able to use cases. So these are some of the use cases. I think all of these use cases are very well understood. This particular use or all the use cases can be divided into either recognition of image, speech, face, detection of credit card fraud, pattern behavior. Either it will be an AI which is forecasting revenue demand on your previous data. It can be an AI which is personalizing, unique profiles are being created, customization is being done, or it will be an AI use case which is interaction support like customer care and chatbots. It can be also an AI which is goal driven like optimization, supply chain, or even your Uber Ola, where you see that maps are helping you navigate the traffic, telling you which is the best path to take. So goal driven optimization AI are there. Last is the recommendation, which is basically a predictive analysis, and it gives you recommendations. So these are the key areas in which all the use cases can be put in. And with these use cases and this kind of AI, we are actually talking about all the use cases in various sectors. So AI is being used in entertainment and media. AI is being used in healthcare for diagnosis. We have seen the kind of cancer related diagnosis that can happen by just using some of these x-rays, etc. It is immense potential. Even supporting treatment decisions. AI is being used in business and finance. Definitely, it is simulating human intelligence, especially in business decision making. AI is being used in education. It is personalizing the learning experience of children. It is giving virtual tutors, etc., where AI is being used. So I think the use cases are immense. It is being used everywhere. You are asking Siri to dial up numbers, to even when you are hailing a cab. So every day, digital assistants, self-driving cars, AI is everywhere. AI is now also getting into robotics. Very soon, there will be a wave of robots that might enter into our households, into our companies, where AI would be using these phygital devices to further interact with us. So not only with conversation, but maybe by touch also. So there are ethical concerns as we discussed. The privacy issue is there. Job displacement is a big issue because of these AI. A lot of people have to do upskilling, reskilling themselves. And we are also seeing that there are risks and rewards when it comes to AI in the society. So said that AI literacy is a very important aspect. These webinars that we are conducting are a part of AI literacy initiatives with ISACA New Delhi chapter. We want to make sure that the professionals understand various aspects of AI, not only about how to develop AI, deploy AI, but also govern AI within your organizations and how to do that. So these have been the complete ways in which you can develop AI literacy plus capacity build within your organizations, develop these AI skills. So these are the complete, this comes to an end now. And what I'll do is I'll open for some questions. I know we are just in time, and we will still take some questions. Thank you very much. Okay, let me come to the chat and see if there are any questions. Okay. So there are some questions. For example, one of the question asked by Disha is, can we say driverless cars and an example of agentic AI? Okay, so I won't be able to get your hands raised, sorry, but you can type your questions in the chat. That is how you can help me answer your questions. So I'll take these questions which are there. There are only 3 questions. So I'll start off with the first question on the driverless car. Agentic AI is a completely different area, Disha. So agentic AI is more of doing tasks and interacting the way you would have done that task. So, for example, right now you are doing multiple tasks and simultaneously you are thinking about them and then doing one after the other. And you are also interacting with other systems, like I'm interacting right now with this laptop, and then I'm also interacting with my mobile phone. Then I would be also having a conversation with a colleague who will just come into the ISACA office. So all of these are the things that an agentic AI or somebody who has my persona as secretary of ISACA would also be doing. So if you say a driverless car where a persona of a driver is an agentic AI in that particular car, then definitely with that persona and agentic AI, who's a driver, it does not matter which car it is, it can still drive. So that will be an example of an agentic AI. Just one car which is autonomous car may not be an effective example, or maybe a limited agentic AI example, if I can say that. Good evening. What is OECD? So OECD, if you see, is having a very important presence. It is an organization for economic cooperation and development. It is actually an international organization with 38 member countries, and it also works on building better policies. So it not only gives better policies for other areas, but it has also given us better policies for this particular area, that is AI. And that is where I was actually talking about OECD, because OECD principles are something which we have seen has been used by multiple laws across the world, including EU AI Act. So if you read EU AI Act, all the articles, you will see very clearly how the OECD principles have been baked into that particular law. Is there an AI Act planned for India? Answer is yes. Yes, there is an AI Act which will be planned for India. The work is already underway. There has been a lot of consultations with respect to the AI guidelines that came out. So you have seen the first thing that India did was that it issued an advisory for prior approval for deploying any AI models. And then it started off the complete journey of how AI regulation would come in, and for which there were certain guidelines that were prepared. On my LinkedIn page, I have given a complete assessment of a paper that came out on what is the position of India with respect to AI law, and what all are the various sectoral laws that are also being developed to be understood and fair to the government. the act which is coming from the ministry may take time, but the regulators, which are the autonomous bodies like SEBI, RBI, IRDI, they are much faster in bringing guidelines and regulations. So we will see in coming months that these regulators will give us some kind of AI guidelines very soon. What is the mental health checkers? So maybe you are referring to the thing that we were discussing on one of the slide, where um, uh, emotional quotient or emotional health was being checked. So in which actually basically it is screening for your facial expressions, and all of that is being captured by an AI, and accordingly there are various tasks or etc. are being assigned. So that is the kind of thing that is prohibited, because that emotion state of a human being is being assessed all the time, and then accordingly various tasks etc. were being given. So this is a prohibitive example of an AI which is being mentioned in the EU AI Act. Is there any relevant laws and provisions? Again, I have already answered. You can go to my LinkedIn page. I've already discussed all that is available in this area of India in AI. And also there's a company of Government of India, India AI, which is also has been made in this area. And a lot of draft regulations would be come up for consultation soon. How do you see AI changes in short run, say next 2 to 3 years? Completely change. So 2 to 3 years is a huge amount of time when it comes to AI. For a short period of transition, I would say maybe 6 months. In 6 months, the first thing that you will feel is the agentic AI, and how agentic AI will come into our lives, and a lot of very huge or large companies will actually start using agentic AI as regular employees and start training them. So they can't go running on day one. It's not that they will have all the intelligence on day one. They will also be under learning, like all of us are when we started jobs, right? We were freshers, we were under probation. So all of that, and we also learned how things were done. So that is how we see that is for a short run. In a long time, definitely it will be an AI-led society. We will see a lot of other AI practices being, or AI changes happening. So the PPT, there's a version that will be shared with you as per the ISACA guidelines. So we will use that for. And any AI certificates which are recognized globally, yes, there are a couple of certificates. AI certificates, AI certification is something which is done by international bodies, and ISACA is also doing a lot of AI training and ISACA certifications. So I would really recommend, there is a certification under ISACA on AI fundamental certificate. So what I'll do is I'll just put the credential or the site on the chat so that it will benefit everyone. It is a very important certification because it starts off in letting you all know exactly how what is AI and what are the various fundamentals on AI. Other than ISACA, also there are IAPP certification like AIGP, etc., which are also globally recognized and can be used. Okay, I think that's it.
Sir, Kartikeya sir, we have a raised hand. We can try unmuting him.
We can, yeah, but I asked them to also write down their question if possible, because I don't know if that capability is there. You go ahead and unmute if you want.
I have unmuted Mr. Ankit. I have unmuted you. You may please ask your question.
Yeah. Hi. I just want to have a word regarding this AI accountability. How you establish this AI accountability in any organization?
Yes. So AI accountability is basically about the AI roles and responsibilities which are there. So AI accountability will help us understand who is actually owning the decisions that the AI is going to take. So within any organization, there would be individuals where AI systems are taking some actions on your behalf. So who is accountable for that? So generally the business who is actually dealing with that AI system is making sure that it is transparent, explainable, fair, and it is also accountable. So those are the various principles of AI accountability, like transparency, explainability, fairness, that I actually told you. And under the audit, you have various frameworks which are available, in which you can actually have audits, independent independent oversight, and those are certain best practice principles which are also available, like I told you about Alan Turing Institute. So over there you can find out the AI accountability principles which need to be incorporated. Okay, any other hand, Manisha?
No, sir.
Okay.
And we don't have any further questions as well.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me over here on ISACA New Delhi chapter webcast. I would encourage every one of you in your organization, start thinking about use cases of AI, start living this dream and making sure that you are able to govern the AI wave that is going to come and hit us in very few months or maybe few years. So please, let's start building a community around this. And in ISACA New Delhi chapter, you are free to reach out to me, and I would be very happy to help you in that particular journey. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Manisha. Thank you.
Thank you
for
so
being
much,
here.
Kartikeya sir. I would like to thank you on behalf of ISACA New Delhi chapter for sharing your valuable insights. Your expertise and practical insights have provided a deeper understanding of the evolving landscape of AI governance. And thank you once again for enriching our webinar with your knowledge. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.